Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast, your home for hockey's debates, discussions, hockey jersey, sports uniforms, debates, discussions, and whatever else Chris usually says.
Nailed it.
Right? I am here. Chris is not here, which is why I'm just destroying this intro. Also, Bpoe is here. Hey, Bpoe, how you doing?
I just trying to remember what Chris's intro is. How about you? I don't know how. I'm on this thing just about every week. I don't know when the last time was that I missed one, and especially now that I do the reference images, it's been quite a while.
Yeah,
I still do not know what he says. I don't know if I just mentally skip out for that part
because and then it's fair.
Yeah, I think I might just mentally skip out of that because I'm preparing on something. Yeah, I'm not. You're home for debates and discussion, or that's all. That's what I remember. I'm sorry, Chris.
That's the thing. I get that locked down, and then it's what do we debate and discuss? Monkeys, animals? I don't know.
But I'm not gonna lie though, that's not a bad tagline for us. That's not a bad tagline for us, to be honest.
That's true.
I wouldn't mind hating that, or I wouldn't hate adding that. I wouldn't mind adding that to our logo or something. The little tagline version of the logo.
That's fair.
Maybe then we'll finally remember it.
That's true. Maybe. Probably not. Probably not.
Probably not. Also, I'm apologizing to Justin in advance. Not you guys as much listening or watching because this will probably be cut out. But I am currently home alone. My parents are away for a concert, and I have 5 dogs, and one of them is very large, and one of them is very small. So I need to just make sure they don't hurt each other on accident. So if they cause a disturbance, I might have to pause the recording and step out and just double check for a second. And depending on how they feel, they may or may not walk into this room at any point. You may or may not see them down below me if you're watching.
Welcome to the Jersey Nerds Dogcast, your home for dogs, cats, and things that are larger than gnats.
Spitting bars.
That's all we're gonna do. We're just freestyling. No, we are not. We are talking about a couple things. Some news that we'll get to, and then we'll review now that the Los Dodgers, I should say, have unveiled their City Connect uniform. We will look at all 7. I know how to count. All 7 MLB City Connect uniforms that have been unveiled. Do a little bracket. Maybe talk about. Since this is, a hockey-centric podcast for the most part, we do dabble. We might talk a little bit about what a city edition kind of MLB, NHL, baseball on the brain, might look like. But first, we haven't even talked about our clothes. Bpoe, what are you wearing?
I am wearing a Pittsburgh Pirates road jersey. I believe it's still the current design. Of course, the newer one has the Nike logo on it.
The current one has
that's right. Never mind. Yeah,
it's
I forgot to change that. It's the previous one that has just the arched Pittsburgh in the Pirates font. And you probably haven't seen me wearing this much because I don't wear it much because on the back of it, it had Pedro Alvarez. I don't know much about baseball. I was like, I'd rather have a blank, but I got this one for cheap, so I stripped it, but it left some yellow residue.
Nice.
So if anybody knows how to fix that, please let me know, because I'd love to wear this more often. I really like the design, and I like that it says Pittsburgh, but I love baseball jerseys just as fashion. I need to get more, and I probably would have purchased more by now if they weren't so expensive. I want to get a Marlins.
Yeah, you can really do a lot with them.
Sorry,
I'm kind of open or
Yeah, I want to get a Mariners jersey because I just rewatched the SB Nation Secret Base documentary. There's one of. Oh, hello, Callie. Would you like to say a word? No. There's one of my dogs down here whining for some reason. I let them outside right before recording, and now there they go. I don't know why she's whining. I gave them a treat. I let them outside. I don't know what they want from me.
They want to speak. They want their 15 minutes of fame. Hardly. So the Jersey Nerds podcast. This is not fame. Not even remotely.
Not yet.
True. Someday. I am wearing the same thing Bpoe's wall is wearing. I am wearing I think it's actually my most recent purchase. But it is almost said the wrong name. It is a Zach Aston Reese Penguins reverse retro jersey. Notable, of course, because it was used in the first season that NHL allowed corporate advertisements on their players. We'll get to that. We'll kind of segue that into the next thing, and we'll give Bpoe the floor to speak his opinion on where the NHL is going in terms of uniform advertisements and decisions that were made.
My rant isn't so much about that, but it's on the fans. So I think I've briefly mentioned this kind of thing before, but I haven't really had like a collected thought on it. So the other day it became official that the NHL is allowing uniform ads for 2022-23. Like a 3x3 or something like that patch on the jersey, somewhere around that size,
half, something
like that. And the big thing is that it's on the jersey. Now my gripe, and honestly, I'm probably going to swear here. I'll bleep it out. I know it's more work for myself because I edit this. I don't care. I think that'll get my point across better. If you are one of the people, whenever they put the helmet ads out, who said, these things are small, these things are tiny, I hardly notice them, and like they're not a big deal, and now you're upset at the jersey ads, this is your fault. I'm sorry, it is your fault. The NHL, or you gave the NHL an inch, they took a mile. If that's your viewpoint on it, then it's your fault. I'm sorry. I don't want to say that you have I want to say that you don't have a right to be mad at this, but I want you to be mad at it because I want anything that'll reverse the NHL's decision on this. They're not going to, but I want them to. So if you happen to me, if you like, for me, I'm sorry. I had this better like when I mentally rehearsed it, and now I'm stumbling over my words. I was willing to give the NHL 1 year of leeway. Fine, COVID happened, it sucked. You know what? Like, you guys said it's going to be a year. You have arena sponsors to satisfy because they lost a month of a season, and if there was going to be a deep playoff run for that team, even more. And then instead, that had to be moved to 2 arenas, and Scotiabank and Rogers both benefited from that part. But everyone else, you had to satisfy your arena sponsor. And then in the beginning of the season, there were no fans, too. Fine. You need to make good with that. I'll give you that. Put their logo on your helmet for a season. And if you stop there, I won't begrudge you for it. It's a unique time. Fine. I'll give you that. But I knew it wasn't going to happen that way. And I think in large part this was facilitated by the people saying, helmet ads aren't that big of a deal because we can hardly notice them. You gave them an inch, they took a mile from us, and it's disappointing. Be mad about it. Please be mad about the jersey ads, even if you weren't mad about the helmet ads. Even though, like I said, I don't know if you deserve to because it's your fault. And I've seen at least one person who, and if you fall into this category, of not minding the helmet ads and also being okay with the jersey ads. If you're one of those people, I disagree with you vehemently, but like at least you're consistent, I guess. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm just disappointed in this, and I don't think everybody realizes who said that the helmet ads aren't that big of a deal, like how much it's actually technically their fault for this. Because if everybody was just like, this is awful, we hate this, the NHL would never do it. But everybody was like, it's not that big of a deal. They're really tiny. You can hardly notice them. And now they're like, okay, we can take a little more, and just slowly and slowly and slowly. And I really got to wonder if it's going to get any worse than this. The NBA has been okay for a couple of years with such a small patch, but that's still pretty ugly. Will this stop me from buying jerseys? I want to say yes, but unfortunately probably not. But because
I think I would guess that, I don't know if they've spoken officially on it, but I would guess that fan jerseys are still going to be adless, because I know that's kind of how the NBA has done it. I think if you buy the jerseys in the actual like arena of the team, they have the ads on them. But if you buy them like retail at some larger store or online or stuff like that, like they don't have the ads. That's my understanding.
I hope not. And now that I think about it, like, do NBA authentic jerseys have the ads or no? Because I kind of wonder if like Fanatics won't, but the Authentics might.
I think only like team issued.
Okay.
Would. And I think for me, I understand the argument of every side. To be honest, I get that money is money.
I mean,
flat cap sucks for hockey and for teams.
Like, look, I'm not talking about a business standpoint here.
Exactly.
I get
Yeah, and
it.
it's
Like,
like honestly,
it's greed though, in a way.
I was
You
not
know,
as upset with the helmet ads as I expected to be. Like within a couple weeks, it was just kind of like, okay. For me, the biggest thing is it takes away a design element, which bothered me most
even
about
if you
helmet
don't
ads.
notice
Is
it
that
much, it's a design element.
yeah,
And
exactly.
for me too, like I'm probably predisposed to it, but I tend to notice it quite a bit whenever close ups come up. But again, like I'm kind of
Yeah.
looking for it at the same time. So
Yeah, for me, like anytime I make a graphic or something, I'm like, oh, that's an old photo because it has a Maple Leaf logo on the helmet or something.
yeah,
For me, that's kind of where I'm at with jersey ads. Like, it's not horrible where it stands currently, but again, we've played this game before. We saw, oh, it's just a helmet ad. Who cares? Oh, it's just a jersey chest ad over here. Who cares? But what happens when it isn't? And something I've seen people who said, "Oh, don't put it on the front. I don't want to see it. Put it on the shoulder." I was like, for the love of God, keep it off the shoulder. Like, don't mess with shoulder patches and stuff. Like, take up chest space that teams don't use. I'm interested to see what the Red Wings do because they've had their and I think the Coyotes haven't. Well, they're switching to Kachina, which is all but unofficially confirmed at this point. It won't
yeah.
matter, but the Red Wings have their captain's patches on the opposite chest side because their logo goes up that high. So I don't know if it's going to be like a weird stack situation where you have it kind of shifted, or like the Memorial Cup jerseys that some teams have when they get 5 different patches on the chest. That would
Oh
be
boy.
god awful. But yeah, it's not good. Is it
You
the
know
end
what
of
I
the
think
world? No.
my best case scenario would be that's never going to happen?
Go for it.
Either replace or move the Adidas logo on the back, like under the collar, and put the ad there.
Mm.
Because you're already doing nothing with that space. You just have the
Yeah.
manufacturer's mark. They're never going to do that. Honestly, I'd rather see like the NHL logo in the collar replaced with Adidas, and then put the ad where the Adidas used to be.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not going
I
to
know a lot of
happen.
college teams. A lot of college teams, or
Yeah,
maybe all the college teams, have that with Adidas.
I think.
I
I
was
think that's
thinking the
where
other
Adidas
day about
usually puts
how
their logo.
I know like what is it? Paul Lucas with your new watch makes a big stink about the Nike logo on MLB jerseys and like the proliferation of brand marks. And something I was thinking about is how we actually have less than we used to. Like looking at like the Reebok jerseys in my collection, something I forgot about is they had it, on the neckline on the back like we do with Adidas, but they also had it on the wrist.
Well, that was only
Um,
the replica jerseys, though. The
was
on
it?
ice didn't have that.
That makes a ton more sense now. That's why I was like, "What? This is so weird." Because I have like one replica jersey, and all the others are authentics, and I was like, "I
Yeah,
totally forgot about this." That'll do it. Okay,
it was only
interesting.
on
I
those
learned
premieres.
something today. The
Um,
more you know.
Manufacturers marks are like the one exception I can make to, I guess,
I
quote
don't
unquote,
care.
ads in the
I
jerseys,
really
because
don't care.
I don't think there's ever been an instance of it not blending in with the team's color scheme. It's so
Hmm.
tiny, and like you made the jersey, fine, I'll give you credit for that.
Right. Like I feel like
Like
you've earned space to advertise that. Like, hey, I made. It's
yeah,
like putting your signature on a work of art or something.
yeah.
It's like I made
And
this.
again, like it's designed into the jersey to be unobtrusive. I mean, like look at what I said about
Hmm.
where it is on the collar. Like it's noticeable, but like it's out of the way of any design elements that existed prior. Whenever you made that design.
That being said, if there's a similar approach, say that I think it's confirmed. I haven't read up on it enough to know that it's going to be on the upper chest, but I think so. If that's done in a way that matches, team color palette, does that make you any less upset, or is it still, I'm going to look at a jersey and be enraged every single time?
I'm going to be mad, but like there's of course a scale here. It's not black and white.
Yeah.
If the rule is that you have to make it match the team's color palette, it's going to be a lot more tolerable. Still not
I
good
feel
by
like
any
there's
means.
no
I'm
way
still
that's
gonna
the standard,
no, absolutely
unfortunately.
not.
What
Yeah,
we've seen with helmet
absolutely not.
logos.
But yeah, I mean, it's gonna
Yeah.
suck either way, but that would make it more tolerable for sure.
Yeah, if the Penguins roll up with a big old white blue
Uh,
PPG logo, they might as well switch back to the double blue era.
honestly,
But
oh
yeah, and that's where I'm at. Like I don't, it's just one more door deeper into the house, and we walked in the door with helmet ads, and it was not the end of the world, but it's the precursor to the end of the world, so to speak. And now we're taking that next
Yeah.
step. And we're just doing it to get the cap up. And we're just doing it to get an extra cap by putting one on the pants. And we're just doing one more on the helmet. And we're just so.
Here's a question too. So now that the NHL has these jersey ads, how much do you think ticket prices are going to drop for fans?
None.
What? They're not going to drop at all? So the fans get nothing out of this?
I saw someone saying that on Twitter. They were like, "Oh yeah, since they're making games more for," I was like, "No, it's all revenue. They don't care about making your experience better. They just want more.
They
money.
don't.
Every corporation always does. It's ridiculous.
They care about making your experience better to the point where you're going to be willing to spend the money on it. That's it.
Right. Exactly. So if we boycott buying jerseys, who knows? That being said, jerseys are not probably that big of a team's profit anyway. Like,
I don't think so.
Like the amount of jerseys you'd have to not buy to take up the whatever multi-million-dollar deals this one ad patch is going to be, like, it's ridiculous. But unfortunately, we're jersey nerds. We're not going to be happy about Honda on jerseys. I mean, it reminds me that they had sponsored divisions last year, which is just baffles me.
Dude, sponsored. I would take pretty much anything sponsored over the jerseys. Like full-time division sponsors and conferences, I don't care.
The Honda
sponsor the jersey. Okay, maybe not that far. Sponsor the goalposts or something. It's
practically Pittsburgh.
Like,
don't they do that in some leagues? Don't they? I thought so.
NWHL, I'm pretty sure we just had it for Lake Placid. That's what I was thinking of primarily, but I'm pretty it's not just that. I know it's more than just the NWHL.
I saw something on, I think it was the hockey jerseys subreddit about now instead of people trying to get the right, I need a Reebok jersey with the Vector logo rather than the word mark to make a 2016 Cup jersey or whatever. Now it's going to be I need a jersey with the Dix ad rather than the A&W ad. But God. I kind of hope it's weird to talk about like hopes for jersey ads, but I kind of hope they're fairly consistent across the years and we're not seeing a revolving door of advertisers. I'm sure for some teams we will, unfortunately. But because that's the thing too, if it stays somewhat constant, then it becomes, maybe it's worse that it seems to become part of the jersey. Maybe I want it to stand out just to say, no, that's a stupid ad, but because I don't want to become desensitized to it. But
on the plus side, if it were to be more of a revolving door, it'd be easier to identify which year a photo was taken in.
True. That's fair too. That's a good point.
There is one thing that I would be willing to literally replace the team's front logo with an advertisement for, and that's like what the LA Kings did this year, where they had, I believe it was like a mental health organization, some sort of humanitarian effort or organization, not just like private company of one billionaire paying another billionaire for advertising space. If every team did like something humanitarian and replace the front jersey logo for all that I could care. These are sports. We're passionate about it, but at the end of the day, if these leagues just suddenly shut down, it kind of did happen, but shut down for good, we're going to be sad and we're going to go on with our lives. It's not the end of the world. So if it could be something that's, for the greater good, then I can make the whole jersey based around that. I don't care. And I
don't think,
I wouldn't like it, but I'd be like, you know what? Good for you.
And I don't think that's something that's realistically ever in danger of happening. I think probably as bad as it will get is what we see at tournaments like the World Juniors, where you have, the shoulder patch ads and the helmet ad, and sometimes teams will have them on their pants. There's a lot of space on a hockey player to turn him into a billboard, unfortunately, him or her, that is. Not great. Certainly closer to the end of the world than we were last season. Not a step in the right direction.
I now have several dogs around me. There's one to my right that you can see if you're watching. One behind me that you guys can't see. There's one in front of me here that if he was in the frame, he would be very visible. But he's kind of blocked off by the other ones right now. And I
It's
just saw
the
another
Jersey
one go
Nerds
past the door.
podcast brought to you by Nintendogs. But
I can't remember if I mentioned this on the. Yeah, I did mention on the podcast that like I'm the only one home now, so I'm kind of watching the dogs. I couldn't remember if I only said that to you before recording.
Oh, fair. Just so you know, I'm home alone. I'm going to mention it every 10 minutes in case anyone wants to come over. But yeah,
Just
that's
watching my
NHL
dogs. How about you?
Oh, exactly. Well, I'm also watching your dogs because I'm watching the podcast. Watching Bpoe watches dogs. That's what we'll do for the next 40 minutes of this podcast. We won't speak. We'll just look at Bpoe. No, we'll speak. I want to talk about.
Not if I mute you.
This is.
I just muted him.
He did it. I didn't think he was going to do it. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. There's the other one. As you can see, much bigger, so
much
very
larger.
easily in frame.
Very
easily visible since he's in frame.
I love it. Yeah, good stuff. So, something else that also came out is the Utica comments. Utica comments.
Leave a Utica comment down below.
Yeah, leave a Utica comment on the Utica comments. Unveiled their new jerseys. They are now affiliated with the Devils. If you did not know that by looking at their jerseys, you probably don't know what the Devils jerseys look like because they're the same. They're not
the same. The Devils jerseys have a Devils logo on it, and the Utica jerseys have a Utica logo on it.
I didn't even catch that. I was so angry that I just transposed the logo, which is what they did. Wow, look at that. I mean, I hate it. It's lazy. It sucks. It happens a lot. And the biggest. I don't understand what goes into making a jersey for a minor league team. But the biggest comment I always see is, "Oh, it saves them money, so they're doing it." Okay, like what? It saves money on having someone design it. Like you still have to. It's not like they're wearing Adidas Devils jerseys. Like they're making CCM jerseys from scratch. They're still producing them. Sure, designing a jersey takes a little bit of effort. That being said, you can make something. You have a creative team of some kind. You can move some stripes around. Like, base it off it, sure. Use similar colors, great. Love it. Honestly, I'd prefer you do.
Henderson.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Henderson, and also, even if you do pay somebody, it's probably like a one-time fee. That's it.
Yeah. And heck, for me, like, something I've kind of gone to recently, wear an old, like a retro jersey of that team. I think that's super cool. Wilkes-Barre kind of does that a little bit by doing like the old gold jersey, at least they had in the past. And I mean, I know we talked about it potentially for Abbotsford, who did a weird kind of sort of copy, but not really, which good for them. They have a slightly different identity. I'd love for teams to have different names. I'm not the biggest fan of having the Canucks farm team be the Canucks. And I'm a Penguins fan, and I'll admit, if Wilkes-Barre could be something other than the Penguins, I'd probably welcome that.
Okay, that just gave me a actually pretty cool idea. Do like the Wilkes-Barre Emperors or something like that. Wilkes-Barre Grand Emperors, and then you could still use a penguin as your mascot.
Exactly. There
like,
you go. See, like fine. Toronto Marlies, kind of like it's not that Marlies actually means anything related to a Maple Leaf, but they have a different name but a similar brand, and I think that's great.
Although they copy their jerseys too, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. I'm
still waiting for the Bronze Knights in the ECHL.
Right? I wish. I don't think they ever will. I think that's steering into it a little, like it's a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
But maybe. Who knows? Do they even have their own ECHL team? I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
They still share? Maybe they have their own, but I think it's like one that was just... And I think it's Chicago, now that I think about it. I think it's the Chicago Wolves, which is one of the oldest...
That sounds right. Although, no, isn't that AHL?
Oh, it is. It definitely is. That was their AHL team when they started.
Yeah.
I don't know who their ECHL team is. If you know who their ECHL team is, drop a Utica comment below.
I will look it up while you finish your rant.
There you go. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Just don't your own brand. Like I feel like minor league baseball has like the most inventive out there brands. Probably to a fault. Like there's some really weird ones that probably don't need to exist, and people eat it up. And it's like if I was making a minor league brand, I feel like I'd try to blaze my own trail and do something, worth doing and having an identity. And I think when you just copy paste the jersey, noted, yes, different logo, different identity a lot of times, I think it sucks and I hate it. So the long and the short of it is Utica could do better, be better, stop sucking, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not just them; they're the most recent team to do it, but it's everywhere. I would say more than a dozen teams. This is totally anecdotal. I don't have an actual number, but I would say more than a dozen teams across at least the AHL, if not the ACHL, AHL and ECHL. I'm making up my own hockey leagues now. Do it and don't do something fun, let people, do a contest, have young jersey designers like ourselves, make stuff. There's stuff out there. There were over 100 entries in the Springfield Isotopes competition. There were plenty in the Kalamazoo and Allen competitions as well. People want to do it, and it's roughly free. Is it, there's some takes there too about whether that might be bad that they're getting people designed for free, but they can. So might as well take advantage of it in my mind. I think the resources are there to make something fun and unique, and I don't know if it's laziness or maybe it comes from on high. Maybe the NHL team says, "Hey, you're going to use our jersey design because we want to build a stronger brand around that look." And some teams have a really good look. Like Toronto's jerseys are really nice, and so the Marlies have them. And you know what? I don't hate it that much. I'll admit that. I'll be a little bit hypocritical with it, but the Devils shouldn't even have the Devils jerseys, much less the Comets.
I feel like the Devils jerseys are more appropriate for the Comets than the Devils.
Oh yeah, the Devils jerseys are
like it makes. I don't know why. It kind of makes sense as an AHL jersey. It should not be an NHL jersey.
Yeah, pre-Adidas, I feel like the Devils had their all time, never change it, very classic look.
We make fun of Lou Lamoriello, and then we see what happens when he's gone.
That's fair. Gosh.
Tinkering for the sake of tinkering.
Stay tuned for the Islanders in 6 years when he retires and or dies.
R.I.P. Lou Lamoriello. He's not dead yet, but he's probably not that far away from it.
He's knocking on the door. He's got ads on both of his shoulders, if you know what I mean.
But man, even if it does happen, what a career he's had. Let's be fair. Also, the affiliate of Vegas and Henderson is Jersey Nerds fan favorite, and I say Jersey Nerds fan favorite because we have like one diehard ECHL fan, I believe, in our fandom. Fort Wayne Comets.
Is it really? Wow.
It is. I honestly thought they affiliated with somebody else, but I guess not. As long as the ECHL's website is updated, and I have no reason to believe it's not, because they currently have the black and red Utica Comets affiliated with the Devils and the Adirondacks under. So
there you go.
That's pretty updated.
Yeah. There you go. Fort Wayne. I almost said Fort Wayne Tin Caps. That's one of the minor league identities that's actually really cool and inventive. Fort Wayne, take notes. Although I don't even hate your identity in the ECHL, so good job. You're better than Utica.
And just one thing as well on your rant, like from the money standpoint, and even like this, or not even a money thing, just like the players being called up and stuff like that, use the same color scheme. That's fine. That way you can share equipment, pants, gloves, maybe helmets, but like just do a different design for the jersey and the socks.
Like, I don't care if your pants have a New Jersey Devils logo on it. Like I think that's really cool.
It makes sense. It's almost like a badge of honor in a way when you can get to the NHL and like wear it on your chest and not just your equipment. And not just your shoulder, in the case that I think a lot of teams still do that, where they have their parent club's logo on the shoulder.
I think that's fairly standard. I don't know that it's like decreed, but as far as I know,
I think it happens quite a bit. Yeah. So like share the equipment for money purposes, so you don't have to buy two pairs. Share it so that way the players don't have to break in new equipment, playing in the NHL, because you don't have to break in jerseys and socks. You kind of just put those on and you're good to go. Share colors.
And your goalies actually, or even like when they're called up.
I don't think Wilkes-Barre has this as like in their home and aways, but like pens are black and gold and white, right? But the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins have a little bit of red in there, and I've like added that in a concept. Like add a color in there if you want. Remove a color if it still works with the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, just similar but not the same. And I think Henderson is the gold standard. Funny enough for that.
Silver standard.
Silver standard, the Golden Knight standard of Anaheim.
Yes, quite. If Jersey's had a Stanley Cup, they would go in their first year. Put it that way. Yeah, so that's that. 2 people, 2 rants. We won't put you through much more than that this week. Stay tuned for more rants in the future, no doubt. Now, as they say in the movie business, we will get to our featured presentation. So, as we said in the intro,
I don't know what theme I'm doing here. Insert like the TH Jacks like loud.
Yeah. But yeah, the MLB released a City Connect series. Is that what we want to call it? Group?
I guess.
I don't know. Of 7 teams, I really don't understand the number. I really don't understand why it wasn't a league-wide thing.
Well, they are doing league-wide, just not all in one year.
Yeah.
Like the next couple of years, they're doing more teams, which
I wonder if it was a COVID production thing where they couldn't, push through design and manufacturing of all of them in one year or whatever.
I honestly don't mind that approach just because it kind of spreads things out instead of like, boom, here's everything at once.
Like, especially like reverse retro. It's like, whoa, look at all these jerseys. Yeah. Oh, they're all gone. Great. Wonderful. Thanks for playing.
I don't think the City Connect ever matched up against each other, right? Or at least
I don't think so, no.
It was a like one-time thing probably. So like, yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind the way that they did it.
Yeah, I
don't mind the way the NHL did it with this either. But I don't mind the way that they're doing this.
No, I think it sounded like the original plan was to have them match up more often, which I think was really cool. I think having them go against each other was really enjoyable. And those were definitely more fun than the games where, you'd have the Penguins in their reverse retro and Buffalo just in their normal or something like that. Noted Buffalo's normal is fantastic, so I actually really like that. I should have used a different example, but here we are.
Yeah, Buffalo's not the best example. Columbus. Nope, they weren't in the same division. Not this time. But,
precisely.
A hypothetical Penguin is in Columbus, because, we're not the biggest fans of the Columbus jerseys, I don't think, but they're certainly not the same era type of thing. So
Yeah, and I think that would have been fun had the MLB done that, but they didn't, and it's fine. It's whatever. But we do have 7 uniforms. I was going to say jerseys, but that's a lie. So I think these are in order of unveiling. Now that I'm saying it here, the Boston Red Sox released a yellow and light blue, sky blue, whatever you want to call it, jersey. I think based off the Boston Marathon in general and that whole event and community. The Miami Marlins released a bright red, almost pinkish, very bright red and blue jersey. Look at that. Bpoe with the
my dog started barking and I kind of zoned out for a second just monitoring them and forgot that I can pop these up. And
Miami's got
just
those,
since it's on the screen anyways, I'll just say the bracket that I created here is in order of MLB standings as of today as we record when I made the bracket. So August 21st at about 5 p.m. So that's where the 1 through 7 rankings come from. No, not it. Nope. I was like, I was like, let's let our opinions come out on the podcast. So for now, we're gonna just order it like that. So you already mentioned the Red Sox, so I'll pop that up for anybody watching for reference images, and then you were on the Marlins. Anyways, continue.
So Marlins is based off I believe it's the Miami Sugar Kings. I really should have read up on these more, so I'm just going based off what I remember. Then
it's okay, I didn't either.
There you go. The Chicago White Sox unveiled their South Side kind of. I don't know. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth by saying things these aren't based off of, but these are just the Justin Broly opinion of what they're based off of. I suppose. Kind of that like hip hop R&B aesthetic of the late '90s, early 2000s is how I would describe them. Then the Chicago Cubs released their Wrigleyville Navy jersey that I have thoughts on. The Arizona Diamondbacks have a sand for lack of a better term, jersey with serpientes on the jersey, snakes. Um, yeah, the Giants have a white jersey with an orange gradient G and a gradient Golden Gate Bridge, Orange Gate Bridge that exists. And then the Dodgers recently, this week, unveiled their Los Dodgers jerseys, which you could say has a Spanish name, I suppose, with a Los Dodgers hat as well, which is a choice. But yeah, those are the 9. So we have our little bracket here again. 7. Yep, that's math. I was looking at our 2 jerseys too. We'll say it's 9 total. Justin and Bpoe get a bye to the finals. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a winner of these 2 matchups, and it's going to be a little different than usual because usually we have a larger group when we do a bracket challenge kind of thing. But I think it'll be fun because, if we're deadlocked, one of us is going to have to convince the other that their opinion is wrong and they suck as a person. And then the better person's jersey will move on to the next round.
Like we said, the particular emphasis on bad person. This is very personal, and our opinions are directly correlated to our personality.
Correct. And
just as yours
the Giants jersey, you're a bad person. But anyway, the Giants get a bye because apparently
they are first in the state. Literally, I think they're first in the entire league right now.
Wow. And
so
last and the Giants.
Not much better. I think the Dodgers are second too, believe it or not.
Nice.
So
yeah, we have the Giants getting a bye. They'll play the winner of our first matchup, which is the Red Sox versus the Cubs, and then the other side of the bracket has the Dodgers against the Diamondbacks, the Battle of the D's. I'm going to move on from that. And then the last
San
matchup,
Francisco first in the MLB. Sorry to cut you off, and then LA Dodgers second. So
LA Dodgers second. There you go. So our seeding. Wow, I was about to say our seeding matches. And I'm like, wait, that's what we based it off of. The last matchup is the virtually colorless White Sox wearing black socks versus the very colorful Marlins that don't have a Marlin on their jersey. So lots of fun things.
I guess you could say they're more or less.
Oh, I like that. More or less.
More loud.
So we'll start it off with
Patrick Marlin.
Patrick Marlin's favorite matchup, the Red Sox versus the Cubs. You got the Red Sox in yellow with a light blue cap and white pants, as we talked earlier, versus the Cubs all navy look. So Bpoe, pick a team, any team. Talk about whatever you feel about it. Let's hear what you think.
I think I'm going to go with Boston on this one. And it's a really interesting one. I think this is going to be a common theme. I think the one thing that kills the Cubs one for me is the blue pants. And there's quite a few jerseys in here that have the pants that are like dark and match the jersey. I don't think that works out more often than not. But I don't mind the script at all on the jersey, the typeface. I like it on the numbers and everything as well. And I believe Wrigleyville had something to do with either the neighborhood they play in or the arena or the stadium or both.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that inspiration, especially whenever you share a city with the team that is going to come up later, the White Sox. They couldn't really do Chicago. I mean, they could, but at the same time, you got another team there. So I think they did a good job of what's the word I'm looking for? Making themselves more
unique, distinct,
separating themselves, distincting themselves. I don't know. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but making themselves distinct from the other Chicago team. But
the stinky Chicago Cubs who distinct themselves.
While the Red Sox don't really look like the Red Sox, because it's not even close to their color scheme or anything like that. I really love the inspiration that it takes from Boston, and just not even Boston sports, just Boston in general with the marathon. And I do remember around whenever this was unveiled, I thought I remembered seeing a lot of Boston fans, really happy with it. And I think if in residents of Boston, people who are close to the city of Boston, and I think that if you win on that, then I think you did a good job, because that's the whole point of this series. So the uniform whole decisions, I think, kind of ruined the Cubs on this one, but I'm gonna have to go with the Red Sox.
So yeah, I'm in a weird spot on these because I really don't care for either look in this matchup. It's weird that I feel like this is also a bit of like a MLB color rush almost, like as much as it is a City Connect stuff. Like the color palettes are either weird like Boston's, or very different from a standard baseball jersey where you go in the full monochromatic look, or promoting a color that's lower in your palette typically. I like the word mark and text on the Cubs jersey. I don't really care for the word mark of the Boston jersey. I think it's pretty generic. It looks like something that someone would just have one of those stencil type texts to make a Stadium Series concept and just run with it. Something I will say though, and this is something that will come up a variety of times, if you're gonna do a jersey in a weird color that isn't in your typical set, use a helmet that matches. Like Boston, has a light blue hat, not normal. They're a red and navy team. But the Cubs, for example, have a all navy look, but they use their normal royal blue batting helmet, and it looks atrocious. And so, honestly, for that alone, as much as these are two looks I don't really care for, one of them has to win. I think that is the difference maker for me. So I think we have it easy in our first round here, and Boston will move forward for me as well. So no arguments just yet. I don't think it's a strong look. From a distance, I think it's great. It's got nice blue, yellow, gold color scheme. They all work together. It's a nice unit. I think the biggest thing for me is that they basically use UCLA Bruins colors, the University of California in Los Angeles. And funnily enough, they have co-opted the Boston Red Sox B logo for at least several years, if not decades, and have a hat that is a blue hat with a yellow, same B on it. And so for me, it's tough to like a uniform that uses basically a hat that already exists for a different team. Noted that team stole a bit of Red Sox identity, and so maybe they have a right to steal it back to some extent, but it doesn't look great in my opinion in comparison. In a vacuum, I'm all for these, but because of that. But again, at least they used a helmet that matched, and apparently that's enough for me.
I did not notice that the Cubs helmet did not match, and I hate that now.
It'll come up a couple times.
Also, like looking at this one, powder blue pants and a powder blue hat. I don't hate that. I like that.
Could work. I hate how much powder blue there is in baseball now, because I feel like every team has a powder blue alternate, but if it's not completely powder blue, it could work.
It feels to me like the monochrome look. It's like the black of baseball.
True.
Where it's just like powder blue.
Yeah. So in round two,
safe to lock in the Boston pick, right?
Safe to lock in the Boston.
All right.
We'll move on to face the Giants in round two, but we have two other matchups to go through first.
All right.
So our next one on ye old bracket is the Diamondbacks versus the Dodgers. So both teams that kind of went with Spanish identities. Both teams with relatively simple jerseys. Yeah, do you like sand or do you like blue?
He is trying to bite the microphone.
Delicious. He says these jerseys look mighty tasty. And he's wrong, I would say. I don't really care for either of these. But I'll reserve my opinion for now. Bpoe, what you got?
It's like Justin already described, both jerseys, but if you want to know what the Dodgers one looks like, take their current blue alternate and make blue pants and make it say Los Dodgers. If you don't know what that looks like, take their regular white jersey and switch around the white and blue and make it say Los Dodgers, and also on the hat. But like
the super inconsequential, you can't even see it, navy spray paint on the
I forgot about that part. Arms. It's so inconsequential that I forgot it exists.
Right. Sounds like the City Connect series as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I think the jersey itself looks fine, but like it already exists. It just says Lost Dodgers now.
Yeah.
Um, and the blue pants, that match again, I'm not really feeling it. I don't think it works too well. Uh, I mean, again, the jersey on its own is fine. If you paired it with white pants, I think you'd be fine. I think you'd have a nice look, but it's kind of like the Islanders reverse retro, in where it's like, okay, it's a fine uniform, but like you had a lot more potential to do a lot more than just take your regular jersey, make it Spanish, and add a spray paint pattern to it. On the other hand, I do like the Diamondbacks one quite a bit. I like the cream or the sand / cream color, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of the same, coincidentally, the same kind of Spanish matchup there. The script, I think it works well for what it is. I like the snake incorporated into there. It also, actually, now that I think about it, reminds me a little bit of the Dodgers roads with the off-colored number, but it works really well. The only thing is that I wish in this case it had like cream pants to it, because you've got white and gray uniforms that have matching pants, and that works fine because it's a lighter color. I don't think it ever works with a darker color. That's probably the one thing I'd want to see from this. And while none of them like blow my socks off or anything like that, I'm gonna have to pick the Diamondbacks again. I think it mainly just comes down to that pants decision. But also, yeah, the Dodgers. Again, you didn't do much.
This is one where both teams wear their back to helmets. Both teams wear their normal helmet,
but in this case, it matches.
I think they're both better. Like, I think the normal helmet looks better than the hat that either team has worn with this. I think that the black top looks a lot better with Diamondbacks, and I think that Los Dodgers hat might be the worst hat in MLB history. It's horrible. Doing a full word mark on a cap looks ridiculous, and I don't
that
think
is a good hat to sell to a fan.
Yeah, fair. Like, it looks like one of those. You know how there's a lot of baseball hats that aren't actually what the team wears, and it's like green Yankees hats or whatever, or a bunch of I feel like it's one of those, and somehow it found its way onto a player, and it's really bad. I also think I hate the idea of teams that just like put Los in front of their name and pretend it's Spanish. Like, you can't just say the something and like make it a different language. Like, that's not how translation works. Like, when people are like, oh, Los Bulls or Los Reds, it's like Los Rojos. Like, there's a word for that. So
in the Dodgers case, is there a word for that? I don't know much Spanish.
There has to be of some kind. I mean, it might not be a direct translation, but like one who gets out of the way of something, there's some way to say that.
Because with names, I think a lot of the times there's not a translation.
Not directly,
I think usually to say the names, like maybe Russian to English or something, because it's completely different alphabets, for example. But
Like the Diamondbacks, I think, do a great job of it. I think the Diamondbacks word mark is the best in this series. That might be the best word mark logo in the MLB, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. I think it, is really nice. I think it incorporates, an icon of a snake into words, which I think is always cool. And in baseball, that is, for the most part, the design element of most jerseys. So for me, this one, I think both jerseys are pretty boring. Like, neither has really any striping that's noticeable. We talked about the Dodgers, spray paint detail already, but again, it's virtually unnoticeable. So, both are pretty plain. I think both could be upgraded with, a little more attention to striping. But I think, the Diamondbacks' unique color, as well as, a really good word mark, kind of elevate this one over the Dodgers by a good deal for me. So, 2 matchups.
Lock it in.
No arguments. Locked in. No pushback. Locked in. Hopefully this next one will generate something.
Maybe. Hopefully.
Honestly, given what I know about you and your thoughts on the color in particular, I don't think there's going to be much argument on this one.
Although I think what we're doing in this first round is just kind of eliminating the jerseys, and I think we're going to have more of an argument once we get down to the next couple of rounds.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. So
Hopefully,
next up
maybe.
is
Who
the
knows?
Miami, not Florida, Miami, Florida. The Miami, Florida Marlins versus the Chicago, not other Chicago, the Southern Chicago White Sox. So White Sox, black jersey, duh. um, and then Marlins, colorful jersey. So you have, the bright and sunny Marlins versus the dark and artistic, let's say, White Sox. Bpoe, who takes it here? What are your thoughts? Why?
If you look at the White Sox, I honestly do like the jersey. I don't mind that it's black. I mean, I don't love it, but I think you get more leeway in other sports than hockey because hockey you've got white ice, basketball you've got a colored court. It's like a
That's fair.
brownish orange, whatever you'd want to call it. Baseball, football. You've got or like either football, American or not American. Soccer, if you call it that. You've got green grass, or in baseball's case, you've got a little bit of like brown dirt. So I think you get more leeway with a black jersey, but I'd still prefer a colorful one. But for what it is as a black jersey, I think it's fine. I like the look of the South Side word mark. And the cap, just from these reference images on my screen, it's a little small. What is it?
So
Let me pull
it's
it up. Okay, it
chai.
says
It's
shy. Yeah.
CHI and basically the same
Okay.
font.
I mean, I think that's okay for a hat. I wouldn't mind it as just a C, but it's better than the whole South Side word mark on there, like the Dodgers have. The like texture of the jersey is fine, but stop me if I said this one already. The black pants. I'm sorry, but it kind of ruins it for me.
The thing
If
for
it
me is
was,
I can't imagine playing a baseball game in the sun in the middle of the summer
oh
in
god,
an all black getup. Like that
yeah,
sounds awful.
it does. I mean, they're probably used to it to some degree, playing
Yeah.
in long pants and everything. But yeah, that can't be good.
Like even accepting design opinion, like just pure
Yeah,
like heat transfer thermodynamics, like not great.
yeah. Like I think white pants or the gray pants, I think you'd be fine. But I'm not a fan of the black pants. On the other hand, you've got the Marlins, with a very colorful jersey. You've got nice contrasting pants that are white. In this case, I'd almost wonder if I'd like the cap better if it was red, just because I don't know. That's a tough one. I think it's fine as it is. Um, I again the nod to the past. I believe it was. It was like a former
Mm-hmm.
team. I think they incorporated that very well. And it's maybe it shouldn't get points for this, but it's significantly better than what they were already. So I guess it does kind of get a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of extra points. And like, why don't you do something like this, guys? Or you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with the Marlins on this one. I think
Yeah.
if
I
the White
think
Sox had white or gray pants, it would be
it'd be
significantly
interesting.
closer for me. But yeah, it's again those pants decisions are deciding these couple of matchups for me. And
Yeah.
if
I think this
Justin agrees,
is.
then I don't have that excuse to make anymore. So
Yeah.
let's find out
I
what
think this
Justin
is.
thinks.
I think this is a tough matchup because these are really both really quality. Like they are good. Like I think the White Sox, even though it is monochromatic, I think they have some benefit that it is, a pinstripe look. So the all black isn't as flat as perhaps it was with the all navy that the Cubs had. So I think it's a good jersey. I think the script is really cool. Like it makes me wish that their actual jerseys, employed um, some of the same look. I think um, their home is just their Sox logo that everyone is familiar with on the chest and or on one side, and then their away has a kind of just fairly generic cursive looking script. I would love if they would kind of lean into this. Like I would love a jersey that says White Sox like this in this kind of font. I think it'd be awesome. Um, that being said, I think the Marlins. The only thing they really did wrong with their jersey is that it's not their full time jersey. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really unique. It's really enjoyable. It's bright. It's got good colors. It feels Miami. It feels more Miami than any, of these Miami Vice jerseys that we've seen everywhere in concept land and we've seen with the Heat. This just feels more generic, not more generic, more genuine to me. I think it's a little weird that there's pinstripes on the body of the jersey and not the arms, but I don't hate it. And I think it's something that could be, if they were to do this full time, which I doubt they will. But if they were, it could be kind of their thing, kind of like the Flyers, having an off-color nameplate. You could have the Marlins have pinstripe, vest almost with normal solid color sleeves. So I think it's the Marlins by a long ways for me, even though the White Sox have a really solid jersey.
I honestly don't even hate the idea of Miami like taking this jersey design and like maybe removing some of the like historical nods and just using the current color scheme and making this their jerseys. Not in the same layout of the colors where they have like black on black with outlines, but
Right.
like it's still better than what they have jersey wise, I think. Even if you were to do that. But
honestly, if they were to, I would be perfectly happy with them just jettisoning the whole Miami Marlins identity overnight and becoming the Miami Sugar Kings and using this look. Like,
honestly, I don't hate that. Did they win a World Series? I think they did, right? They made like one trip to the World Series ever, and they won it. I think
when they were like early 2000s, like the teal. And
yeah,
black,
it was like early. Yeah, they were still Florida, but yeah.
But yeah, so after round one, we have the Giants left. Woohoo! Also, Boston won their matchup, and so did Miami, obviously, and Arizona. So moving to the second round, let's go ahead.
It's San Francisco versus Boston and Miami versus Arizona. So that's it. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yes. So, with that, there's only one team we haven't talked about. So let's start with them. Bpoe, what are your thoughts on the? We've had so many colors. What are your thoughts on a team that used a lot of white? The San Francisco Giants.
I don't hate this uniform as much as everybody else does. I think it's pretty solid except for one thing, the gradient part. I don't mind the G logo. I don't mind the way the typography looks. I don't mind the bridge on the arms, honestly. I don't hate the way that looks. I think baseball's a little bit too traditional for my taste, where it's like, you guys need to step out of the box a little bit sometimes. And that's one thing I can appreciate about the City Connect series, even if it doesn't always work, particularly with the, matching dark colored jersey and pants. You guys at least stepped out of the box, and I'll give you a lot of credit for that with how traditional baseball is, especially. And I think the bridge works well in that, but the gradient part, if it went from like orange to black or orange to red or anything else, then back to white, I think it would work way better than it does. But having it go orange to the base color of the jersey just doesn't work very well, because if you look at it from a distance, like for example the picture that we have up, the 62, like the bottom of the 2 is cut off, it looks like, and the bottom of the 6 is cut off, and like I know it says 62, but like if I didn't know that those are supposed to be back jersey numbers, I might not realize that. And who were they matched up with again? Boston.
Doesn't matter.
Again, I don't hate that jersey as much as other people do. I honestly might pick it if it wasn't for the gradient, but I think I think Boston as a whole, it's more well thought out and more connected to the city, which City Connect. So again, while it doesn't look like a Boston Red Sox uniform, I think it's a good Boston uniform, so I'm gonna have to go with Boston on this one.
Yeah, I think this one's the easiest one of them all. I think the Giants have the worst jersey of the 7, and it's kind of unfortunate that they got to buy. Jerseys have to do two things: they have to identify the team and they have to identify the player. And when you have those gradient numbers, like I don't care about any other design elements. It could be a perfect jersey otherwise, but that alone like completely negates any utility the rest of the jersey has in my mind. I think the bridge on the arms is great. I think it's really cool. But I think the rest of the jersey is not great at all. I don't even like the Boston jersey that much. I think it's good. I think it's unique and it's cool. I think it departs from their brand a little too much. If I saw this on TV, I would not think it was a Boston Red Sox jersey. I'd probably think I was watching some minor league baseball game with some weird blue and yellow Boston team.
Is there anybody in the MLB with that color scheme? I don't think so. At least not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Not specifically that. I mean, the Brewers are blue and yellow, but not that blue and yellow.
True.
But yeah. Not the happiest to see it in the finals, but that's how brackets work out sometimes. But now we'll figure out who it'll match up against. Maybe we'll have an argument for the first time. Maybe we won't, because the Giants are out the door. So we'll move on to the Diamondbacks versus the Miami Marlins for our second semifinal.
One more quick thing on the Giants before we move on to that. I do like just looking at the image of, the full uniform and ignoring the numbers. I love the orange and the white, the balance of it. Like the orange sleeves. Nice. Yeah. And the helmet. And then again, just to pretend that the numbers are full colored orange. Honestly, that looks fantastic.
Might it be better if they were an orange and white team and not an orange, white, and black team? Potentially. You're like full time.
I mean, even if you add some black trim to this, I think it works out fine. This makes me want to make a baseball concept, honestly.
There you go. I think the G is a little lackluster. Like it's pretty much has no personality. But yeah, I mean, I think it has some good elements. They're just not paired with supporting elements at all.
Yeah, it's close. Diamondbacks, Marlins?
Yes, sir.
So, I think these are two pretty good jerseys going up against each other. Again, I think cream pants or sand. I get confused because some teams you'd want to call it cream and some teams you'd want to call it sand. But I think matching pants would do good for the Diamondbacks or the Serpientes because they are light colored, and as we've seen by the Giants for one example we have a reference image for, white on white works fine, or like gray on gray. Light colors on light work fine. So I think and the Brewers, don't they do that as well?
They do cream on cream.
They have cream on cream, sand on sand, whatever. And especially with the sand hat, I think the white pants just kind of stand out because the sand to me is like a white replacement. And the Marlins it's such a nice uniform. The colors are so bright and bold. I got to go Marlins on this one, but they're both pretty solid. I could easily see somebody says Diamondbacks. I'll be like, all right, I don't agree, but good for you.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the first
Diamondbacks, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I do not, fortunately. So I'll make it easy again. Something I think is funny is of our 4 teams that are in the semifinals, noted the Giants got a bye, but all 4 teams in the semifinals have white pants. And the 3 teams that had colored pants got out in the first round. So I think it's funny that the desire is to have the Diamondbacks have colored pants when across the board everyone got out. But again, light versus dark that's exactly what it is. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's awesome that I don't know. I love this Marlins jersey so much. I think it's weird that something that is big in football, at least recently, from what I've read, just kind of, and it's become very salient in my mind whenever I look at a football jersey, is someone said, like in a football jersey, 2 of the elements should always match color. Like the pants, the jersey, the helmet, 2 of those 3 should match to make a good football jersey. And I think by and large, at least in my opinion, that's true. I think it's great when you have, like the Patriots have, a blue jersey, blue pants, and the silver helmet, or you have a team with, a black helmet, red jersey, black pants or something. But when teams do, black pants, red jersey, white helmet, stuff like that, I think it looks a little off sometimes. But I think in baseball, that's not the case. Like, I think this is phenomenal. And funnily enough, the Boston Red Sox have it too, where they have a different color and very similar: white bottom, blue hat, bright jersey. But yeah, I can't say enough about this Marlins jersey, so it's gonna go into the finals, no problem, no questions asked for me.
Like, you mentioned how football, has a different dynamic than baseball, for example, with the colors. It's just every sport does have a different dynamic. Because, for example, in hockey, you know, a lot of the times I think off-colored pants work a lot better, and especially like never white pants with a white jersey or white pants in general usually
Never
don't
white
look
pants,
good.
yeah.
In basketball, if
I
you had colored pants with a white jersey or white pants with a colored jersey or just
oh
different
gosh,
colored pants and jersey, like no, it does not work. If
that's a
it
good
does, it's
point.
rare. So it's just every sport has a different dynamic. So you got to work around that for what sport you're designing with.
True.
I hope all of you are enjoying the dog feed if you're watching the
I am.
YouTube video feed.
It's the only reason I'm here. Yeah, if you're listening to this on audio only, you're really missing out. Um,
Well, if
Speaking
you
of
want to miss
missing
out a little
out,
bit less, you tried to
incredible.
bite the microphone again.
Oh, you could hear it. You could hear it.
Oh yeah, I heard it through my
That's awesome.
headphones this time.
That's great. All
Hello.
right, so we have the Red Sox and the Marlins in the finals, and maybe we'll need the Dogs as a tiebreaker. Who knows? Let's see. So Marlins Red Sox. Funnily enough, the team in red is not the Red Sox. But what are your thoughts? Red team or Red Sox?
I'm gonna let you go first on this one because I think I know what my
Okay.
pick is, but just for the fun of it,
Okay.
I'm gonna be contrarian.
Sure, I like it. For me, it's the Marlins. It's been the Marlins since they were unveiled. Like instantly, it was like, like I like this. This is good. Like I think I remember when the Red Sox came out, everyone was like, well, not everyone, but at least like us on our Jersey Nerds discussions, we're like, okay, like it exists. Like it's kicking off a series. Let's see what'll happen. And we kind of had mixed emotions. Whereas like for me, when I saw the Marlins, it was like, yes, like this is why this exists. This is why we have this grouping. And I think it's something that yes, it's weird that it is not really the Marlins brand, but somehow feels more on brand than the Red Sox not red jersey. So I think it does everything it needs to. I think it pushes that local identity. I think it builds on rather than replaces the existing brand. And aesthetically, it's beautiful, and it feels very having not even been to Miami, I can see this and say, yeah, that feels like Miami. Whereas Boston, it's kind of like, okay, unless I have a niche knowledge of the Boston Marathon or Patriot Day or all what that's all about, I don't really have that understanding. And, maybe I'm not meant to. I'm not, a Bostonian. So that's fine. Like if they love it, great. More power to them. That's awesome. I'm glad they have a jersey they like. But, I don't really collect baseball jerseys, but this Marlins one is one I saw and I was like, would not mind buying that.
I've got to be honest, I'm not sure what my actual pick is because I keep like flipping back and forth in my head because I like them both. But as I said, I'm going to be contrarian. So for now, I'm going Red Sox because sure, the Marlins uniform is great. It's very colorful. It's a huge step up from what they have now. But we might be giving it too much credit because of how bad what they have right now is.
Fair. The Blue Jackets effect.
And yeah, again, I'm partly arguing this just to be contrarian, but it is also some good points, and I think it might be propped up too much by how bad what they currently have is. And sure, like it connects to the city, it connects to a former team from the city, but like I get maybe this is like down to different interpretations of City Connect, but how do you connect more with your city than something like this where it's the Boston Marathon and all of that and Patriots Day and that kind of stuff. And like you said, maybe outsiders don't exactly get the reference or get the what I'm saying there. They don't get the meaning behind it. But ultimately, if this is a City Connect, personally my priority is connect with the city and the members of the city and people who are close to the city, not somebody from Pittsburgh like me or somebody from where are you from? You lived in Dallas for a while, right?
Who knows what
or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You're from Canada, something like you're like.
I never know how to answer that question.
Not Boston, is the point.
Correct.
So while it's honestly both of these are pretty off-brand from the actual teams, and like you said, Miami's is kind of, it seems more on-brand, but I think that's just because of how bad their current actual brand is. I think there's a lot of that coming into this.
Maybe they have no brand, so everything seems on-brand. Yeah.
Yeah. So while this is way off-brand for the Red Sox, from what I can tell, it's super on-brand for the city of Boston. And to me, I think that's what you want from City Connect. So I'm going to say Boston right now. So that's my pick. But like honestly, both of these uniforms I really like. I think I'm starting to like this Boston one the more that I talk about it, the more I look at it.
I felt like when you started talking,
you also got to look at it in like
he keeps going back and forth.
You got to look at this though in like the context of like these are worn for a couple of games. I don't know if they're carrying over to next season and like new teams are getting new ones, but these ones are going to stick around, or if these are just this year. But either way, it's a couple of games either in general or this year, and I don't mind breaking away from the brand too much for just a couple of games for something like this.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, when you started talking, I was like, well, he's waffling already, saying he keeps going back and forth. So this will be an easy job just to say, but look at the pretty, look at it, think the way I think. But I mean, you do raise a good point. It's like, is the Miami Marlins uniform a better uniform? Arguably, yes. Is it a better city uniform though? I don't know.
So, if you couldn't tell already, listeners, we've had some Justin problems this episode. I'm not really. I assume it's him, but
Classic.
His feed keeps cutting out and keeps lagging and stuff like that. So we've been restarting the recording. Anyways, feel free to go on if you remember what you were saying. About bringing someone from Boston or something.
I feel like we are not the experts, so breaking a tie is going to be an interesting one. So maybe it's kick it out, get those Utica comments below, and figure out a winner. But I think that they're both two quality uniforms, I should say. Both are really good. If you feel strongly, I'm happy to give it to whoever you feel strongly to. But
I was gonna say, unless I've swayed you, I think the Marlins deserve this one because I think I like the Marlins jersey better than you like the Red Sox one. If that makes sense. And you're frozen again. Awesome. Marlins win. I guess. Leave a Utica comment on which of these uniforms you like better, or if it's not Boston or Miami, which one do you like the best? What would have been your winner? Leave a Utica comment, or either down in the comments section if you're watching on YouTube, or in our Discord if you're in the Discord, or on social media, or all of the above if you really want to. And with that, because I cannot hear Justin right now, I'm pretty sure he's still here, but he's lagging like crazy. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast. Go ahead and follow us on social media, and pop in our Discord, and keep listening to the podcast. I'm not good at outros because I don't normally host. Your discussion home for uniform jersey nerds. And goodbye, everyone.
Incredible. Goodbye. Don't come back.
The Jersey Nerds podcast is a production of Jersey Nerds Media. The Jersey Nerds are Bpoe, Hunter, Justin, Chris, and Noah. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @the_Jersey Nerds, and hit that link in our bio to find our blog, our Discord channel, our online store, and more. And be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to us. We really appreciate it. From the Jersey Nerds to you, thanks for just listening to a podcast about you.